Snowfall is coating all the daffodils that I can see from my windowsill. Hey, what's the word? Welcome to the next episode of Sunday Sidecar, the series where we dive into, discuss, dissect, maybe even diss last week's Tuesday Ukeday drop from yours truly, Uke Brute. This week's episode, the Daffodils. So I want to start off just by saying that it's been fun getting into these songs and revisiting them and also diving into them for this series. It was not something that I planned on doing when I set about doing Tuesday Ukeday. I was actually advised by a couple independent, separate individuals. I might have mentioned this on a previous episode. Anyway, we'll reiterate it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of repetition along the way, both in my stories and my music. Anyway, so as I'm diving into this, I took their advice to add some human flavor, some context, a little bit of, back and forth between myself and the music and you, the viewers, who are hopefully listening and enjoying this stuff. However, I don't want to turn this into some type of self-congratulatory circle jerk type of, video where I just kind of pat myself on the back the entire time. So I'm trying to figure out ways to approach this in a that's engaging, but also maybe informative, educational. Who knows? Maybe even fun. We'll see. But for this song, the Daffodils, as I was, looking over it again, getting ready for this video, I realized that the song has really clear-cut three-act structure, and so in the interest of just songwriting perspective and a little bit of lyrical intake, we'll break down how this works as a three-act structure in a typical traditional storytelling format, and we can apply that lesson to some songwriting crafts, whatever you want to call it. Sure. So for this one, it starts off the first two verses set the stage. We have, the snowfall and the daffodils, which is, some, opening scenes. And then we get just kind of the status quo of what this narrator is, their day. They see snow and the daffodils. Let's go make trash angels in a landfill, right? That's what we all do. But then we also get a motivation, looking for a hidden avenue to, to go somewhere new, to open new doors, see the world, or whatever it takes, just bring about a new future. But it's impossible, right? It's so we set the stage with a scene. You get a vibe, a feel, a general sense of a setting, and you get a motivation. That's storytelling 101 right there. That's what you want your characters to do. And so we're going to skip the refrain for the moment. We'll go ahead into the verses 3 and 4, which works as the second act in this 6-verse song, 3-act play, narrative story, what have you. So the second, this is where things start getting dicey. This is where you ratchet it up a little bit. You raise the stakes, and all of a sudden magma is everywhere. It's burning down the trees. It's coming into the apartment where they only have till 3 floors. So the stakes are rising, much like the magma. And we there's no escape route, there's no chance of getting out, there's no rescue, there's no bailout, there's nothing. And so you're just kind of left. What's going to happen? Dun dun dun. And that's again, driving a narrative with a character's a conflict of sorts. Not a direct conflict, there's no immediate antagonist for this protagonist, but still you get a sense of there's a dynamic feel, there's some fear, there's some worry, and so there's just kind of creating a story. And that's what you want to do as you're if you want to write a song in that case, or in this aspect. So that's things you want to just keep in mind as you're building it out. This isn't the only way to do it, but this is a tried and true method of just storytelling. And it's a trope, it's a cliche, but they're tropes and cliches for a reason. They work for the most part. And then we move in, and then we move into the final Act 3, the twist, essentially, in verses 5 and 6. You want, the first act, second act, twist. Now, the twist doesn't always have to be something crazy out of the blue, like, oh my God, how did this happen? This is unreal. It just has to not be expected. And in this case, the twist is courage is actually sprouting through all of this in little concrete cracks. A little bit of concrete cracks, a little bit of courage sprouting up. And that's all you need. We get into it's quantized, discrete pack, some science jargon, but no matter how infinitesimal it is, how small it is, it all stacks up together, and everyone, you can't do it alone, and so you build up that courage for everyone. Sometimes it takes a zillion sheep before we can get to sleep and dream. That's just how it goes. And then we kind of fall into the refrain, and it really comes down to is, shit sucks sometimes. Shit always kind of sucks. Look back and there's never any perfect time. We all have some nostalgia for, halcyon days of yore that never existed. For some folks, it's the 50s. For others, hell, it's the 90s. For some people, it's the summer of 2016 when everyone was playing Pokemon Go. But there's still troubles, there's still problems happening. And that's why you just can't, let this shit affect your attitude. And just, it's part of life, vicissitudes. Don't let this shit affect your attitude. It's all a part of life, vicissitudes. Don't let this shit affect your attitude. It's all a part of life's vicissitudes. I'm not saying that it's some type of God's master plan that we have to adhere to, because it's not. There's very real problems. There are policy choices being made, inaction on climate change, inaction on homelessness. That's not God's master plan, and I don't even want to say that there is some God's master plan, because it's not. So don't confuse the two. I'm not implying that. I'm just saying that there's always going to be problems, there's always going to be trouble, and we just have to stay strong, overcome, and just keep on trucking. That's the whole point of this song. There were a few small things. The song was inspired when I was on a walk with my dog Scrappy. He's sleeping. But there was a bunch of snow covering the daffodils. Now I know daffodils are a spring flower. They bloom very early on in the year. But still, just seeing those daffodils covered by snow, made me think of, kind of the problems we're having with climate change, but it also just kind of reminded me of the resilience that, these flowers, even though they're covered in snow, they're still just blooming, doing their thing. And that's kind of, how the courage is sprouting through concrete cracks. And that's what we have to do. Sometimes just be resilient in the face of the craziest obstacles. And then, for the refrain, it was interesting too, because I had, the verses down. I had the melody for the refrain. How it goes. But I didn't have any words down for it. And one day I was chilling in Merriam-Webster's Twitter account, one of the best Twitter accounts available. You should follow it, especially for you word nerds. But the word of the day was vicissitudes. And I saw that, and it clicked with kind of attitude, and that refrain just popped out, and it just brought it all together. So you gotta love those little auspicious moments like that, where there's just serendipity in action. But anyway, so that's the Daffodils, Life's vicissitudes. I guess just the Daffodils for now. But hope you enjoy. Thank you for tuning in. Check back soon for another ditty from